All right, hello everyone. So we are entering the next season, the next league for PoE. It's the best time of the year that happens, 3 times a year? And we have this page, which is the classic, 30-second teaser, and there's a few other things that have been confirmed. Today I'm just going to talk about what I want to see in 3.28, and I'll talk about what I expect to see. So I have all these written down here. But before we do anything, I'll just quickly play the trailer in case you haven't seen it.
Time itself is at stake. To survive, I will grant you a wish. What is your desire?
Alright, so, there's not too much to take away from that, other than it seems like America type of theming here, and, I think this, aesthetic is, super dope. It's like the sand, desert type stuff. I think it's great. But yeah, obviously, so this is going to be February 26th, we'll actually see what's in the league. I will probably do the same thing I did last time. I'll do a reveal reaction, if you're interested in watching something like that. But then, yeah, we'll be playing on, March 11th? March 6th, that's what it was, so. Pretty expected. First week of March is what everyone was kind of expecting. So, let's talk about what I want. So first of all, I want to talk about what I want to happen to the new breach, because we have confirmed we are getting new breach. The old breaches are not coming back, which, I think it's fine as long as things go in a certain way. But the first thing I need to happen, which I think is going to happen, this is one thing I actually expect to happen, is that the walls that the breach mechanic spawned previously don't exist anymore. Now, if they do, something that's important to note here is that in the map defense, where you're defending Ilith, is not staying. Those are gone. It says right here, unstable, which is the classic breach, just killing a bunch of stuff in a circle, and hive breach encounters are the only ones that are going to appear now. So hive fortresses can still spawn, which do spawn walls in the current base game, or the 3.27, and so there will still be some walls sometimes if they don't take them out. But, if they don't take them out, at least they will. First of all, you can just choose not to have breaches in your map, which is something you couldn't do in 3.27. So if you don't care to run breach, you can remove the walls by not allowing them to spawn in your map. There's going to be something on the Atlas tree that lets you block it. So you're going to not have them as a problem if you care to not have them as a problem, basically, regardless of whether they remove them. But I think they're going to remove them anyway, because everybody wants it. They just didn't feel good. So yeah, that is the first thing. Next one is something I thought of, that this doesn't have to be a keystone, you could do this with other stuff too, but with the Atlas tree support that's coming for the mechanic, I think it would be really cool if you could either reduce the amount of graft blood that you get, or completely take away graft blood being granted entirely to buff the ground loot that the breach encounters spawn. Because if you haven't thought about it before, that the reason the breach never got a ground loot buff is because the tree exists, right? If the tree didn't exist, breach mechanic would have been completely dog shit. And so there would have had to have been some really impactful ground loot. But if it has really impactful ground loot and the tree, I know this is how GGG thought about it, this is just how they work, then that's too much. And I agree. I mean, if it were both of them being really strong, then yeah, it would be the best mechanic in the game by far. But I would make the argument that for 3.27, they could have at least just had it be kind of OP for the league and kind of, made it a lot more fun for people instead of everyone bailing so quickly. So yeah, I think this would be a really cool way to sort of solve this issue that people have with it. If you want to have the ground loot, you can, and if you want to farm the tree, you can absolutely farm the tree. And maybe you can even do it the other way around too, where you get more graft flood and you get less item quant, whatever. There's ways to make that work. And I actually am like 50-50 on this in terms of like whether I expect it to actually happen. I think it's a kind of a no-brainer. I mean, you just have to have the thought, and obviously if there's a bunch of people working at that company thinking about what to do with the mechanics, somebody's going to have the thought eventually, and so, you know, if they did have that thought, then I think it will make it in. And then the only other change I really care about for Breach is Atlas tree support for Graft Blood gained and targeting which womb gifts you get. So, you know, that's probably going to be there too, because what else can they really do? You know, it's the trees. The Breach mechanic isn't exactly deep, so there's only so many things they can do with it, and so if you're going to have like 3 or 4 different wheels on the tree, and maybe even a keystone, then this is more than likely going to happen. So in terms of Breach, that's what I hope for and what I expect. And then this is all the stuff that's just like general updates and changes to the game itself. So someone brought this up in my YouTube Discord a couple days ago, that ROG is like basically useless right now because the tree crafting is so strong. Now, I think that the tree crafting is going to get nerfed a bit. But I don't think it's not going to be bad, and I don't want it to be bad because then it would just be stupid to have it there. I think it'll remain really relevant, and I think that it'll still be near the power level that it is now. And so I would like ROG to get a rework, and I don't know how, but something I thought of is like maybe ROG has synthesized bases, for example. Like this is just one example of something you could do here. Maybe he has like synthesized bases, and during his crafting window, you get access to do things that you would not normally be able to do to that item. So like, let's say you have a synthesized base, and he at some point offers you like a Hunter's Exalted Orb, and you can make it a Hunter synthesized item, right? Like stuff like that, because if that existed, you could easily make it extremely difficult to get like genuinely overpowered items, but you could make it possible. And that would make it a really fun and engaging thing to interact with, and it would give a completely new form of, you know, mirror to your crafting and whatnot. So I think that would be really cool, because honestly, ROG has just been overshadowed by stuff, right? Like, since Expedition came out, there's been so many things that just give god tier loot. Like, even King's March is a better place to get loot than ROG. So yeah, I think that'd be cool. Just like maybe another example real quick, just to make you even like maybe think this is cooler. Like maybe there's a fractured base that he offers, and at some point in the crafting, he lets you do a fracturing orb on a fractured item. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be pretty dope. I think that would be really cool. And just make it so that like you only get 1 per craft, so it's not like super OP. So that's something I thought of. But yeah, ROG is Pog, and I would like him to. Well, ROG was Pog. He's not really Pog anymore, but he could become it again. And then this is something that I expect and also really want, which is meaningful changes and buffs to T17 mapping. Now, the number one thing I want is for new layouts that don't suck ass, right? Like, T16.5 maps were the solution in 3.26 when they were really strong. But since the modifiers got nerfed so hard, T16.5s are really not that much different from 16s now. And so that means that tier 17s are now once again like the ultimate, like, you're not going to get juicier maps than T17s, period. Which is fine, except the layouts are so ass that you're limited to like 3 strats, right? Like there's Scarab farming, and there's strong boxes, and then like probably 1 or 2 other things that work on there. But like if you wanted to farm Breach on there, for example, that would be stupid. Legion, forget it. You know, like stuff like this. Even Blight, because there's not much space for the lanes. So yeah, it's just like the layouts are terrible and the bosses are cringe. And I personally, and I think most people probably feel this way too, think that the map bosses on T17s should just be baseline way harder and just have them not be affected by map mods. Like, the fact that they're affected by map mods ever is just stupid. It should have never been that way. Because at the end of the day, like, if you're juicing those maps, the only builds that can actually kill the boss are ones that can either face tank everything or delete it in 1 second. So, like, that's shit. I don't like that. There should be some actual skill involved with killing the bosses. But, yeah, I do expect big changes. They said that 3.28 was going to be a big change to C17 patch, so I expect it. Now, this is in the same vein of what I'm talking about already, but the late game economy nerfs that we got in 3.27 that were basically what killed the league. And to be honest, like, I've thought about this a lot. 3.27, the Keeper League, is my least favorite league I've ever played in. And I'm going to be honest, the only thing that actually saved the league for me and like made me play it for very long at all is the accuracy stacker build that existed, because that was just so fun and overpowered, and like I've always wanted to play with Reeve, and it was such a perfect build for me at the time. That kind of saved my league and made me have a lot of fun, at least with that character. But seriously, you don't need to walk back the nerfs, but you at least need to compensate them in some way. Like, get us back to something adjacent or close to what the loot in endgame was like in 3.26, because people had fun experiencing it. They had fun playing it. Like, yes, Abyss was overtuned, and Blight was overtuned, and the Alva thing was overtuned, but we had so much fun doing those strats compared to the stupid shit we have now, where you're just doing strong boxes or scarab farming. Like, please. I cannot stress it enough that that was genuinely just fun removal, and it was a complete miss. So I just compensate us in some way. You know we hated it. The player retention speaks for itself. The feedback, very clear. So I do expect some form of compensation, and I will not be mad if it's not enough, but at least they thought it was going to be and they tried. I'll never be mad if they at least tried. And if they try, that means they want us to have that fun back, and so we should once again give as much feedback as we possibly can to the changes they make. And you know, and if they are trying to do that, then they would more than likely be willing to fix it mid-league too. So in this situation, it would be a lot easier to actually have mid-league changes that would be good. This one people might disagree with me on, but I don't care. You're wrong. Bloodline ascendancies are trash. They are stupid, because they're just 90% of the nodes nobody uses, and the ones that people do are just almost always better than your 4th ascendancy point on like any ascendancy. Like Spectral Tigers are just genuinely like overpowered on any build that crits. The accuracy stacker used that one Spectre that gave accuracy and crit, and I'm pretty sure it gave like immunity to crits too, so like that's fucking way too strong. And then there's the one that does like the action speed immunity or reduction immunity thing with, I think it was no gems in your boots or whatever. Like, there's very few things that actually got used. Most of it was trash. Some people use the +1 ring slot and stuff like that too, but like, I don't know. I genuinely feel like 80-90% of the nodes are meaningless, and there's so much PoE 2ification in the Bloodline ascendancies that they're just like not PoE 1. Like, they're just weird, and they're way too niche, and genuinely they need to kind of rework almost all of it. I think that they did not execute it right. I think the idea is sick though. The concept of Bloodline ascendancies is amazing, but it just missed the mark for me, personally. This one and the next one are both things that I just personally want. I do not expect this to happen at all, but there was a change in 3.26. They literally took Splitting Steel out of the game. This was my favorite skill in the game. I absolutely adored it. Now, here's what I'm going to say. Splitting Steel Trickster was overpowered. It was. But Trickster has been, in this 3.26 patch, it was nerfed to the point where Splitting Steel Trickster would not have been overpowered. And in 3.27, they just triple tapped Trickster again. And so, even if Splitting Steel were in its previous form, it would be underperforming compared to other builds pretty substantially. Like, it would be a meaningful, like, basically the nerf that they wanted to accomplish here has been done and then some without this change. So give me Splitting Steel back. I can't stand this change for so many reasons, but one of the things that bothers me the most is, why couldn't you nerf it like you nerf everything else? Why did you have to give it this specific tag that no other skill has? Projectiles can no longer return. Why? It doesn't make sense. It's a stupid band-aid fix. Like, it doesn't make sense. Nerf it by the numbers like you nerf everything else. So I'm just, I've ranted about this so many times, but it was my all-time favorite build, and I want to fucking make a deep dive on it so badly, because it is a build that needs to be properly showcased. I never saw anyone like properly diving into this build, and now it just sucks. So give it back. It was not overpowered, and it will it was at a time, but even in 3.26 it wouldn't have been, and in 3.27 it absolutely would not have been at all. So just like, put it back, man. Just put it back. That's it. Next one. This one is something I just like randomly thought about at some point, but like, I've been wanting to play bow builds recently in the last few leagues, but I never do because they just don't have any realistic defenses. And I don't play builds that don't have realistic defenses. That's just not how this game should be played. I actually genuinely believe this game should not be played without defenses. But there just isn't any actual meaningful defenses you can get on a bow build. There's some gimmicky stuff, you can do evasion and you can get spell suppression, but I'm not talking about map defenses, because like bow builds don't need defenses in maps because they clear so well. Obviously at some point you need some. But I'm talking about like uber bossing, man. Like, there's nothing. Like, your life is you have such a small life pool, and life is already just completely overshadowed by energy shield when it comes to bossing. And so it's like, yeah, you get spell suppression, which is only 40% reduced damage now instead of 50. So like, that got nerfed too. And it's like, you're not going to evade spells. You can't evade spells. It's like, you just suck. You basically have to have mirror to your DPS, or Ubers are just a pain. Like, they just aren't something realistic for your build, and that's for all bow skills. Like, it's one thing if it's like you're some tornado shot character with like magic find gear on, or like elemental hit of the spectrum where you're like just banking on AoE and clear. Like, yeah, I understand you shouldn't have boss DPS, but like, or like Uber bossing defense, but like, dude, just give us something, It's like, I don't know what the answers are, but like, it just sucks. Like, bow characters are pretty much off limits for me. They're just kind of not in the game for me, and I would like to play them because they're aesthetically really cool, and I love Tornado Shot. I have every MTX for Tornado Shot. I don't even know why. I don't remember buying even half of them, but I have them. So I would like to play Tornado Shot again without it, just being some stupid headhunter build that just farms Legion or whatever. So like, I don't know. That's just another thing I want and don't expect at all. Here's something that I expect to be the case, but there's a pretty decent chance too that this is going to happen. The Foulborn uniques in this game are amazing and everyone loves them. Like, they're cool. There's so many build enabling things. There's like so many like really powerful things that we all like, and they are balanced behind rarity of getting them. And so, that's the best thing this game does, is balancing its items power behind rarity. So that way we have things like Mage Blood and Headhunter and whatnot. But, obviously the one I think of the most is this one. Now, I do want to mention, I said no gutting them. Things will be nerfed, and I think this is one of the things that will be nerfed. Now, if you decided to make this 5% increased accuracy per 50 intelligence, so it's a 50% reduction in power of this Foulborn modifier, the accuracy stacking build would still be a top tier build. Okay, like, it would still be extremely strong. It's not going to be as cheap to set up and get going. It will require more investment for sure, and it was already kind of expensive, but that's exactly how it should be. Okay, like, it's an int stacker. It should be expensive and require a lot of things to get set up, right? So if it gets a 50% nerf, that's deserved, and I expect that, and I'll be happy with that. But if they decide that this thing is just too powerful in general and just remove the entire functionality, that will piss me off. That is something that I can't stand happening, and I don't think it's going to. I think they're going to do numbers nerfs if they do decide to touch it. But, you know, other things like the embalmer gloves that give you poison prolif, in that case, you really can't nerf it other than completely removing it. But I think that they weren't overpowered, and they just made a lot more builds more comfortable to play and map with, and just opened up a lot more like fun opportunities for people. And so I don't think they're going to get rid of that. So yeah, I'm just really praying and expecting that they're not going to gut the Foulborn uniques, and that they'll just adjust them. That's the best outcome possible. But yeah, so just, if you're worried about this, like if you see this number go to 50 intelligence instead of 25, don't worry, the build is still great. You can still absolutely play it and you will have a blast. Like, it's gonna be good. It was way too efficient before. Alright, so that's all of like the updates and changes to the game that I actually care about. There's way more stuff, by the way, like there's more things than what I'm mentioning, but these are just the things that I could think of that were most important to me. So and I have 3 things in terms of the new content that will come to the game. So something I've thought about a lot. Initially, I didn't care for mercenaries particularly, and I didn't really care for them to go core. But just thinking about it a lot and like talking with people in my Discord about the mechanic, I actually really do want them to come back and go core. And I'm pretty sure they said that they are at some point. They'll just be substantially changed, and it would take time to do that. And so whether I expect it to come this patch or not, I don't know. We might have to wait 1 or 2 more, to be honest, but if they're back, that's hype. I'll just be very, very curious to see what they do to them. Because, you know, the elephant in the room is the Doriani's prototype, which just made every lightning build, which, by the way, if that came back, and the accuracy stacker got nerfed by like that 50% on that modifier, it doesn't matter. You would still be doing like 3 to 4 times as much damage as that build was doing in 3.27. So if that just happens to come back in that form, yeah, you can be locking in your fucking accuracy stacking build. You know, league start something strong and just immediately transition into that thing as soon as you have everything set up, dude, you'll be blasting. But that's not going to happen, let's be realistic. But what I'm curious about though is like, how do you fix that? How do you actually decide that it can't function that way? Right? Because if you decide that the Doriani doesn't work in some way, like something has to fundamentally change about the mercenaries that's like gonna kind of really change and maybe even remove a lot of what they can actually do. So yeah, I'll be very curious to see what they do with it. This is what I want the new mechanic to be. So the last time we had a crafting, like a unique crafting mechanic, I'm trying to think. Okay, let me think about the last leagues, because it was Keeper's League, which had the Genesis tree, which wasn't unique or complex crafting. It was just really strong, easy to target stuff. And 3.26 was Mercenaries. There was no crafting mechanic there. What was before? Oh, Kalgur, Settlers. That mechanic had the enchanting table for like the enchantments, which isn't crafting. It was just like a bonus you could put on your weapon. And then there was recombination, which is like not what I'm talking about. And I think Necropolis was what came before Settlers, and so that would have been the last time. And so it's been like 2 years since we've actually had like a new complex and unique crafting mechanic, and I loved graveyard crafting, and I know that's an unpopular take because the coffin trading was like absolute ass and whatever, but if you just like took the time to like, you know, figure out how to use like the Craft of Exile thing to find out the best place to plant all your stuff and all that, and like see what other people are doing, it was really template driven. So like you could just kind of decide things you're going to craft and find someone's recipe for it, and then just buy the coffins, which was the annoying part. But obviously now, if that were to exist now, it would be so much better because we have the async trade. It would be like night and day. People would like that mechanic a lot more if it were back. But all that aside, I'm just saying I want another one of those kinds of mechanics where you can really, really get deep into it and make some really, really cool and unique items that don't exist otherwise. And, you know, I could definitely see that being a possibility of what this mechanic does. Who knows what they mean by giving us a wish. That sounds like prophecy from back in the day, if anything, but, you know, they're not going to just redo that. It was a cool concept, but it was, you know, got outdated eventually. And then the only other thing I'm actually asking for, from what I've seen, is some new, like, sand-themed skill gems, because as far as I really can think of, there's only, like, 2 that actually do that. Like, there's the blood and sand stuff, like flesh and stone, blood and sand, but that, like, doesn't really count, in my opinion, so you're basically just left with Blade Storm, I think that's what the skill's called, where you can put down, like, those sand circles, or you can make them the blood ones. Those, I always thought were, like, super aesthetically pleasing and, like, really cool skills. And because this is, like, a Mariketh, like, desert-themed thing going on, it would be super dope if they, like, kind of expanded on that and, like, made some other sand-themed stuff. I feel like I'm not forgetting any, but if I am, I don't think I am. I think that's, like, the only sand-related stuff in the game. So that would be pretty dope. Like, you can obviously do some really cool stuff with that, like, some, like, vortex sand thing that, like, you could imagine, like, a vortex that's in the game now, like, replace that with, like, a sand theme and then have it doing, like, physical dot instead of cold dot and whatnot. Like, you could do stuff. There's so much cool stuff you could do with sand related stuff, like some cool ass spells and whatnot. So yeah, that's what I want the most. Honestly, like, you can see from this list, like, I'm not asking for very much here. A lot of it is stuff that I actually expect to happen, because the truth is, like, the things that sucked about 3.27 is, you know, overall changes that were made in only a couple areas. Like, the economic changes to the end game was, like, the biggest thing. I can't stand it. Everyone hated it. And then the breach mechanic being, like, really unsatisfying to engage with. Dissatisfying. Unsatisfying is probably not a word. So yeah, that's it's really not that much, like, but it's incredible how those 2 factors, like, really actually genuinely ruined the entire experience for me, right? Like, they were a big deal. And that's why I'm asking for some compensation, because it won't take that much to sort of fix the problem, but the problem needs to be fixed. So that's what I'm expecting. But I want to end on a positive note here, which is, you know, I missed out on Lake of Calandra. Thank God. I skipped that one. That is, for most people who have played for a long time and played in that league, that is their least favorite league of all time that they've played in. And, you know, watching the highlights from back in the day, of people's experience playing that league, I totally get it. It is not good. There were so many things that were just, like, so uninspiring. But the league that came after Lake, you know, I gotta look this up, I forget what. So yeah, the league that came out after Lake of Calandra was Sanctum. And I did play Sanctum. Sanctum League was dope as hell, dude. It brought in so much cool stuff. Like, I honestly couldn't sit here and, like, tell you exactly everything that came in, because I forget a lot of the stuff, because it's been a minute. But, like, obviously just, like, the unique items themselves are really cool. Internal Damnation was, like, super OP that patch, and Balance of Terror was, like, also super, it still is OP. And obviously Original Sin came in, whatever. But we also had Sanctified Relics, which was kind of like grafts. Which, by the way, I forgot to mention that we're not getting grafts anymore. Grafts are being removed, which is totally fine. Everybody expected that. Because truth is, like, they became like a min-maxy thing. They weren't like a mega impactful thing for your build. I think, you know, it only really actually had a meaningful impact in giving some characters a little bit of defense that they couldn't get otherwise, and then giving, like, crit builds and lightning builds, like, a big boon to their DPS. But aside from that, not really that inspiring. They were kind of whatever, and they were super annoying to try to, like, make yourself and whatnot, so that's whatever. Yeah, Sanctum was a banger league, and it was really well received, even for people who didn't want to do Sanctum. It was still good, and I remember loving it. And I think that league, everyone was farming Crimson Temple, looking for apothecaries. I think that was just, like, what everyone was doing. There was, like, some strong box strat that wasn't like the one we have now, where you would, like, you'd open all the boxes on the map, and then you would like push, like you could make tormented spirits enter your body and you would like possess all the monsters or something. It was so crazy, but like it was so fun. But yeah, like Sanctum League was an absolute banger. And so what I'm trying to say is, anytime this has happened in the past, because this has happened quite a couple times, where they put out a league that's really poorly received, they followed up with an absolute banger. Another example would be people hated Necropolis. I genuinely, truly believe that the hate Necropolis got was unfounded and was just kind of bullshit. Like, there was stuff at the start of Necropolis League that needed to be fixed, but they fixed it really quickly, and it was a good fucking league. Like, it was so fun. Even if you didn't care to play with the graveyard crafting, it was so fun. Like, the lantern stuff was so dope, and the All Flames were, which back then they were completely different, they were so cool. I loved Necropolis League. It's one of my favorites by far. But, you know, most people didn't like it. And so, what ended up happening is the next patch was Settlers League, and Settlers League is by far one of the best patches that's ever happened to the game. Not because the actual King's March is like super cool. It is pretty, and it was certainly really cool. I think people had a lot of fun with it in Settlers League. Genuinely, it was really fun. Like, everyone doing their shipments, waiting for their big shipments to come back and whatnot. Super cool stuff. And I personally like that it's in the game core right now, because if you think it's FOMO, you're an idiot and you're wrong. So there's that. But yeah, Settlers was widely regarded as a big W league. Like, we got the currency exchange, the enchantments for your weapons was like super OP. The Atlas mappers were really OP. The shipments were OP. Everything was like so just over the top great. And, you know, I guess the bosses were like whatever, but it was a really good league. And there's a reason that people actually were willing to play it for this long. Like, people played this long, the retention was really good in Settlers League. So all of this is to say that Keepers League was received worse. Like, Necropolis is the only one that's performed worse than Keepers. And like I said, I think a lot of that was unfounded, and a lot of content creators were out there bashing the league, and I genuinely think that they just kind of killed the league for a lot of people, and they should have not done that, because it was a really good league, and if people stuck around, they would have saw that. But, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, okay, well, the first impression matters a lot, and people didn't like it in the first week, and so they kind of bailed. So I can't say, like, you know, it was perfect or anything, but I genuinely fully believe that Keepers League, if Necropolis didn't have content creators out there, you know, saying to all the sheep that'll just listen to what they say and repeat it and form their opinions based on what they said, if that didn't exist with Necropolis, Keepers League would absolutely be the worst retention they've ever had. Absolutely. And so, because of that, I think this follow-up league is going to be an absolute banger. I have full faith in this company. I have not lost any faith in this company. You know, this last patch has kind of made me sad and makes, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it's like 10% of me that's like worried, you know, because there's just some things happening and I'm just like, this isn't really like them. They don't do this kind of thing anymore. But yeah, so that's what I'm expecting. So anyhow, if you guys want to, I'll be live probably like an hour before the live stream happens for the league. So if you want to like join in or whatever, that'd be dope. But for now, I'm out. But I'll one more thing. When the patch notes come out, like I did before, I talked about the patch notes briefly, and then I also talked about any changes that happened to any of the builds that I made deep dives for. I'm doing the same thing again. So if there's any meaningful changes to any of the builds that I've made a deep dive on, which I think there's like 5 or 6 of them now, I will have everything listed there and make it really easy for anyone to just immediately see like, oh, is this build still going to work and what's the power difference and whatnot. So you can expect that as well. But for now, I'm out and I'll see you for the reveal.